In episode 21, I talked to former Gastonia All-Star Zach Jarrett. After retiring from the game, the Carolina native discusses how ball was life. Our guest today is from Hickory, North Carolina, attended the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, drafted by the Baltimore Orioles in 2017, a 2023 Atlantic League All-Star with Gastonia. I know a guy, and his name is Zach Jarrett. Zach, how's it going?
It's going well. Glad to meet up with you again. See, it's been a long time. Happy you reached out to me. Glad to catch up a little bit.
Of course, long time no see. You retired after the 2023 season, so how's retirement treating you?
Retirement and real life is definitely different than what I was used to. I thought I needed a lot of caffeine to keep up with the late nights and long seasons, but I think it's a little more now as I'm trying to find my path in the real world and adult, as we say, just a little bit more than I was whenever I was playing baseball.
Any time over the past year you wish you were back out there at center field at Caramount Health Park?
Oh, definitely. I think, as a baseball player, you never want to say that, your time has come or you want to retire. You never want those days to come. But, I was okay with the decision, and I think it was a decision that, although it was a hard one, it was an easy one because I know I'd sort of left everything out there in my time, 7 years of playing professionally. But yeah, every day I could still see myself out there making plays and in the batter's box.
North Carolina born and raised, Zach. You also played ball at college here at UNC Charlotte. Playing baseball in North Carolina is blank. How would you finish that sentence?
That's a tough one. Playing baseball in North Carolina is everything, man. Like, it's close to home. So, each time that I leveled up with the Orioles, I was away from home for our home field, right? But each time I got lucky that one of the affiliates that we were playing against was close to home, right, in North Carolina. In the South Atlantic League and the Carolina League, AA with the Eastern League didn't have that opportunity. But in AAA, we got to play the Knights, right? So it was everything to me. Every time I got to come home, it was the nice little reset, right? And then even getting to play in Gastonia, being 30 minutes from home, I was staying either with my mom in Hickory or with my sister in Charlotte, right? I was able to, have that. Everybody had, it's a long season that sort of makes it difficult, right? You're away from home, friends, family, whatever that is. And in this situation, I was able to, have that constantly. So I really, didn't go into those times where it was like, even more of a struggle because I didn't get to see those people or have that reset. And that was a pretty special thing about it.
You just talked a little bit about your time in the Baltimore Orioles organization. You were with the Orioles system for 5 years. We have a segment on this podcast called Cool Connections. So in terms of whether it's a player you interacted with or a coach you had that really helped in your journey in your career, is there a cool connection you made in the Orioles system in your 5 years there?
Oh, Lord, we could.
It could be an extensive list.
Yeah, we could go on and on. I mean, I was blessed, honestly, with a lot of great coaches, mentors of that in the system, and even, teammates, right? Like I have plenty of connections that I still stay in contact with to this day. Mason McCoy being one of them. I'm the godfather of his son, and so, we stay in touch a lot. He's with San Diego now, and actually, played this year, got some at-bats with them at the big league level, which is awesome, and happy for him. And then, I got to be around Adley, Rutschman, Dean Kramer, Kyle Bradish, all these great players who are even better dudes. And, being able to see how they go about their work, each and every day is incredible. And then I got to have, coaches such as Bobby Rose, who I don't think he's coaching with affiliated ball anymore, but he had an illustrious career with in Japan right after he left the MLB, and did a really good job there. And then Justin Lord, Ryan Miner, who was incredible, and unfortunately who he lost recently. He was just an incredible coach. So, and Buck Britton, he has done an incredible job in the Orioles system, and I had him ever since I was in Single A. Right, so all these guys, right, and there's plenty more names that I can list, teammates and coaches, but they made a huge impact. And it's all about, for me, I love the team aspect. So getting to have, the camaraderie every day in and out, everybody's going through the same thing and fighting together, that was always fun.
A plethora of cool connections.
Yeah.
Zach, you were with Gastonia in 2022 as well as 23. Back-to-back seasons of at least 20 homers and 25 stolen bases here with Gastonia. Went 20-30 in 2022, over a 900 OPS in each of those two seasons. What allowed you to have so much success here in Gastonia?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it, I tell people, is I sort of had to, refine myself as a player. Defensively, not as much. I had a lot of confidence in my defense. I didn't have as much ebb and flows there. Offensively, though, it's such a hard game, right? And, figuring out how you can level up each season. And that was sort of my goal in the minor leagues was, okay, I need to take this season and see how I can go into next season, better, right? Because, you don't want to just be that guy who sort of plateaus and then you're not, increasingly getting better at each level. Honestly, whenever I first came into Gastonia, it was a shock, as it is for most people after you're released. You don't expect it really. I'd had a good spring. I was looking forward to it, and then all of a sudden the bottom falls out, right? So it's sort of, I have to deal with that rejection. But also I had so much belief in myself that I knew I could get back to, a high level of play and even get back into somebody's system. And early on in 22, man, I struggled. I mean, if you talk to Goose or Chuck, and even Brady, there were struggles and it was tough. I think we just talked to Brady and you sort of find out, you're like, you can't just come in here and dominate. It's not just you come in, get your at-bats, hammer it down, and then you're out of there, right? It's a grind. And, there's a lot of good players that are in your position because similar situations happen to them and they're all trying to fight for the same thing, right? So I had a really what I call a come to Jesus moment with my mom. And, after I was struggling, I just had to figure out who I was and find that confidence again, right? And then after I found that and sort of, just continued to work on it, it sort of just kept flowing, and I found some things that worked for me in the box.
You certainly had that confidence in 2023. Mid-season All-Star with Gastonia, third most runs scored in the Atlantic League with 101. At home, you hit .343 with an OPS of 1.022. Did you feel more comfortable playing here at home, like you mentioned, about roughly a half hour away from where you live?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that helps for sure. You're staying in the comfort of your own bed, having your routine here on the road. It's a little different. You're trying to fill, space and time. You're staying in hotels, don't know what kind of hotels you're going to stay in, and stuff like that. But, and not to mention, the crowds, right? Being here for 2 years, I got to, become familiar with a lot of people in the community, which was awesome. And, you have that support. And, despite everything, we were able to have good crowds, right? And our coaches, right? Coaches, players, everybody enjoyed being there, right? And everybody was working together because we wanted to win. We had that one goal of wanting to win. And it just sort of made it infectious. Some would probably say the short porch in left field helped out with that a little bit, but, you still got to hit it over the fence, so that worked out too.
A few hitters have come on the podcast and, raved about how amazing it is. Pitchers have come on the podcast and said how they hate it. So it's a lot of opinions.
I can see where you get both sides of it. It is, tends to be a hitter's ballpark, especially as as a both side hitter. I think we saw JC Scarro whenever he was here for, that half of that season, right? He could just clip a ball out to left, and it was like, all right, well, he missed it, but it still went, what it needed to go, which is 305 over there, right? And have enough height. But then, he'd hit one about 440 to right field, and it's like, okay, well, he can do it both ways, so what's it matter?
Carlos Franco, Steven Moya, plenty of lefties, plenty of hard-hitting lefties in the lineup.
I can't believe I forgot about them. The even bigger dudes who'd have to do just a little bit less to even get it out.
In 2022, team has the stolen base record with 305, ran away with the division, lost to High Point in the playoffs. 2023, of the home run record, you don't clinch the playoffs until the very end of the season, and then you beat the Rockers in the playoffs. Do you have a preference between either season, how it went? Either one of them stand out to you?
No, I'm getting chills as you're talking about it, though, because it's just taking me back to those times. Because there is nothing better than winning, honestly. I'm probably one of the most competitive people there is. And obviously that rivalry with High Point runs deep. And you don't really understand it until you get into the games and you're playing and you're chirping back at each other and you have those – you play each other, 30 times, 35 times, and it's like, all right, at some point something's going to explode here and, guys get – anyways, it's tough because I felt like both years we were the best team in the league, and we had that. I think we showed that throughout the season. And the Atlantic League is so unique because you can have so much constant movement, right? And that's going to sort of affect what goes on. Now, it doesn't affect so much here because Brady and Goose are unbelievable at what they do, right? They are always on the phones, right? They know what's going on. They're looking ahead to see, if we need to move this or move that. Like to have those pieces come in whenever we have the benefit of having guys signed, which happens year in and year out, right? So, I would obviously take the one where we end up winning the championship, which unfortunately we didn't do that either year. But I like the second year because we beat High Point, put them in their place, and it's all. I love all those guys that played there. You have those friendships, with Jamie and Frank and all the players as well. Because they, between the 2 years there was a lot of the same players that came back for both teams. So it was a fun rivalry, but that was just a little bit sweeter, especially whenever we did it at their place.
I figured.
Yeah.
I figured it was going to be 23. So Zach, leadership is a big part of who you were as a player. Goose essentially called you the team captain in 2023 when I was talking to him. There was actually a quote that Goose had June 16th in 23. You're going to like this quote.
Well, he's a class act. All the way around, defensively, offensively, human being, clubhouse guy, good, great teammate. Like I said, I saw him today outside picking up balls that were home runs in batting practice and picking up balls for the team and everything else. Great kid, great character. I'm never worried about Zach Jarrett. He's going to give you 100, and if he's got a little bit more than that, he's going to give you that percentage every single time.
Wow, chills again. That means a lot coming from Goose. That's it was. I can give a lot of credit to how I was raised. My mom and dad and sisters. I had great people to look up to, especially in my sisters, of how to go about your business. And my dad, learning from him and how he managed himself as a professional and his work ethic and everything of that nature. I was able to sort of take what I've learned from him and his words and sort of put them into action. And they never hindered any of us from, dreaming too big or wanting too much. So they just made sure that if you're going to do something, you're going to put it in 100%, right? You don't want to be that person who's, slacking around. It'd be after, basketball games and high school that you'd sort of get the silent treatment in the car because maybe you weren't going 100% for all 32 minutes, and it's like, okay, well, I get what you're saying. If you're going to put it in 100%. But no, all those words are so special. It makes a difference whenever you see what they do for all the players as well, and how they treat the players, and how they fight for us and everything like that. And so you just want to give what you can to that. Right, and I'll tell everybody, whenever I'm on the baseball field or I was on the baseball field, it was my happy place. So everything else sort of outside just went away. So whatever I'm doing out there, I just love doing it because I love being a part of a team. I love being a part of a winning culture, and that sort of helps make you go above and beyond in each scenario.
You mentioned learning from your dad being Dale Jarrett. He won the Daytona 500 3 times and won the Winston Cup Series championship back in 1999, a NASCAR Hall of Famer inducted 10 years ago in 2014. What was it like to grow up with a dad that was very, very well known?
Yeah, I tell her he was just dad to me, right? It was a little different because he had a different schedule. He was gone from Thursday to Sunday, if we didn't get to go to the race, or, he would leave on Thursday and we'd show up to the race Friday night or Saturday, right? And we'd be there for the weekend. So in that aspect, it was really different, right? I wasn't living the normal, weekends or week from a week-to-week basis because, we were going to the racetrack. But honestly, as I look back on it, more on it now, it's so unique because at some points I wish I was a little older to watch him, sort of go through his career and sort of how he did it. But I do appreciate the memories that I do have of, just being able to be around him at the track as a kid and sort of just revel in his sort of legacy from a sense because, I look back at it and he did so much for the sport and still does, in commentating and stuff like that. And I'm just so proud, I'll brag on him any day of the week about, who he is as a competitor and a person.
How many times have you heard, I guess you were never late to school growing up, how many times have you heard that joke?
A lot, but if anybody knows my parents, they know that my mom drives faster than my dad, so they definitely, but, she's also a little bit off on her time. She always had to set her clock like 5 or 10 minutes ahead so she could be more on time. But that's probably where she got the fast driving from. She was trying to get all three of us on time where we had to be.
You talked about your dad being a competitor. What kind of values did you learn from him growing up, going to the track all the time, watching him compete in races? What kind of values did you learn from him being the competitor he is?
Oh, so much. I mean, it came down to the dedication and the work ethic, that you're going to put into what you love to do, right? And if you want to get those results that you're looking for and those goals that you're setting, then there's going to have to be times that you miss other things, right, that you might want to be at in order to get those results. And I think, there was a story about, whenever he first got into racing with his friends, Jimmy Newsom and Andy Petrie in Newton, and they were building my dad's first car before he was about to race in Hickory and some other races. And he was telling me, the hours that they would work, it's just those three working on the car. My mom's at the apartment. He is there for 18 to 20 hours, right? Comes home, sleeps, and then goes back the next day. And it's just that dedication, right? When you're trying to build yourself up, he had, obviously my grandfather was in racing, and so he had that connection and had that into it. But Dad was still, had to sort of forge his own way in that respect into the sport. And I think that showed a lot, from the stories that I've heard and things that we've talked about, that sort of helped me try and forge my way into baseball. Although it wasn't the same sport, I was able to take all those values and characteristics and put it in that.
As you mentioned, your dad went into commentating after his career. Did you consider doing the following in terms of baseball?
I don't know. That's sort of different. I see people that do it, right? They go from being players to, commentating and stuff like that. And then you have your analysts who've been journalists for a long time. And it does seem appealing, right? We can sit here and talk about baseball all day long and listen to you do it, listen to Brian Rushing do it the year before you, stuff like that. It's very unique because you do get a perspective from somebody who's been there, right? And I think that's what's awesome about, my dad and so many other racers doing it is that, they sort of give you that inside info of, what they felt in the car, or what the driver may be feeling, right? Because it's a little bit different. And same thing, like you listen to John Smoltz talk, during the World Series. That's crazy. I was telling our kids at Gaston College while the World Series was going on, I was like, hey man, I don't know if y'all watch baseball, but you need to listen to John Smoltz talk because he gives you such an insider's point of view of what these guys are thinking, right? And, goes away from analytics, but just talks about baseball, right? And the mentality side of it and what's going on and stuff like that. It's an appealing, thought process about getting into that, but, who knows? Opportunities might be endless.
Well, you have a lot of cool opportunities and things going on right now, Zach. You're the hitting coordinator for Queen City Corn Dogs in Charlotte. We'll start with that. How did that happen?
Yeah, so it actually came up a teammate that I had in college, he started it. His name's Eddie Hull, and he is currently the head baseball coach at Charlotte Catholic, and he's the athletic director at their middle school, Holy Trinity Middle School. Anyways, he had approached me at our buddy's wedding and was like, hey, man, it'd be kind of cool if you were the hitting coordinator for, our travel teams. And I was like, yeah, man, that'd be pretty cool. I was like, I'm trying to figure out what I'm about to do. Like, I'm in getting my master's through LSU online for sports management. I was like, I need something in the meantime to, sort of, and I also wanted to see if I would like to get into coaching, right? That was sort of, I love baseball, love being around it, wanted to see if that was an avenue I wanted to test out. And that's been incredible. I mean, the opportunity he's given me, we had we started in April of this year. A lot of great kids, a lot of local kids from all the high schools surrounding the Charlotte area. And I've just been blessed to be able to work with them. I sort of learn from them as well because, I've known travel ball as a player. I didn't know travel ball as the coach really. And it's a crazy landscape, man. It's changing a lot, but they're doing a really good job in focusing on development of these kids, which is sort of what drew me in because a lot of travel ball can be, we're just going to get in the best players or we're going to, field 30 teams so we can just make money, right? And so there's different areas of it. But, no, the development piece that he's doing at Queen City with him and Coach Cook from Charlotte Latin, they're doing a great job.
Then you became a volunteer assistant coach for Gaston College. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think that came up as another piece of I was just still trying to figure out what I'm trying to get into. But the head coach there, Sean Doty, he was my pitching coach my senior year at Charlotte. Not my pitching coach because I wasn't a pitcher, but great coach, great guy. He brought a lot of new energy to Charlotte my senior year, and I think that led to a lot of our success. And we were also a little bit older. But I had approached him about an opportunity of seeing, I want to get into coaching. What does this look like? It's a junior college. Coaches, a fifth assistant or a fourth assistant just got, approved in the NCAA only a couple of years ago. So junior college is still behind that. But Gaston does an incredible job with what they're doing, and this is their fourth year of having sports, right? 5 sports, and they're doing a great job, and they've supplemented to where the assistant coaches are, advisors or counselors to pay for that, and then they get to coach as well. So their plan over there is incredible, and the history speaks for itself. In the first 3-4 years they've had the program, they've won, like he likes to tell me, 140 and like 30 something in those years. And so it's like the proof's in the pudding, right? If you I want to be a part of a winning culture, right? And I'm used to being a part of a winning culture like we're here in Gastonia. And it just seemed like a really good opportunity to sort of figure out and, see if coaching was where I wanted to take my next steps.
Now, you talked about your cool connections with the Orioles system, named a lot of different players and coaches. Would you say that you made a lot of really good connections in college? Because whether it's Queen City, whether it's Gaston College, or whether it's something that we're about to talk about, it seems you've made a lot of connections in college that's paying off for you right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think the biggest thing that I pride myself on is, making friends, is being able to, make everybody feel included and make sure, everybody's sort of, I guess, on the same page in a way. But I've been blessed because, I've been able to connect with so many unique people that goes so many unique different ways, right? And it is afforded me the opportunity to, once I decided to retire, to have these opportunities waiting for me to sort of jumpstart me into my next career.
Now, I have some unfortunate news for all our listeners. We do not have the only phenomenal podcast in the area. Apparently we don't, because Ball Was Life is also a podcast going on. There's your plug.
Yeah.
Ball Was Life. Yeah. Make sure to check it out. Your 2 co-hosts are teammates from college, Brandon Vogler and Logan Shearer. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. That was a unique sort of opportunity that came up. We had sort of messed with it. Podcasts, as you know, have sort of just exploded in a sense. And it's unique because there's so many different angles you can talk about similar topics, right? And do, have different ways of connecting to people. And so Brandon Vogler, who you mentioned, he sort of approached me and Logan about it and was like, hey, man, like, we've talked about this. Do y'all just want to do it? And we were like, yeah, why not? Like, with a sense of, okay, we were collegiate athletes, Division I collegiate athletes. So what are we trying to do next? Like, what's the next step? Like, you hope that you're going to be able to go to the next level, but what if you don't, right? You're spending 4 years, like our head coach said to our parents in the first meeting after our first fall at Charlotte, baseball takes precedent over school. I know your parents aren't going to like that, but baseball's 60%, school's 40%, right? We brought you here to win games, and that's true, right? That's all a part of it. But then once that time does come, how have you prepared yourself, and what skills and characteristics has sports given you to be able to be successful at the next level, which is real world and life and the next job. And so yeah, man, it's been a fun experience. We haven't been able to do it as much because my friend Logan is actually in grad school. He's doing architecture, and then obviously it's just been hard with all the schedules, but it has been extremely fun. And we do have a unique, I thought the title or the name of our podcast was unique, and I think we're actually starting to get another episode up soon, so we're looking forward to doing that.
You have a favorite episode so far?
Oh, favorite episode. I don't know. I'm biased. I've had both my dad and my oldest sister on.
Nothing wrong with that.
But, they are both, like, Dad he told stories, and his experience helps so much in a lot of ways. And then my sister, Natalie Jarrett, who's VP of partnerships and operations at Charlotte FC, her experience is so unique because, although she wasn't a Division I athlete, she was a highly successful high school athlete who could have been a Division I athlete. Being a woman in sports and where she's taken her career from, she lived in New York for 7 years working for Billie Jean King, and then, comes down here, works in the Knights organization, and then, is in a startup that is Charlotte FC, and then all of a sudden is worked from manager to VP, and it's like, getting that knowledge of sort of what positions like hers are looking for to work in that organization, right? Of who they're, what characteristics, what values they're looking for. That's sort of what we aim to do, is sort of help, those athletes that are sort of trying to find their way in the next step to see what is next for themselves.
Zach, you got your bachelor's from UNC Charlotte in 2017. You're currently in the process of getting a master's at LSU?
This is correct, yeah. So I got my bachelor's in psychology, and I was always, I'm going to get drafted. I'm going to get drafted. And that was the goal, right? That was a dream of mine. So I wanted to work to be able to do that. I was fortunate and blessed to be able to be drafted in 28th round, like you mentioned earlier. And so, psychology was just the most interesting thing to me in college. And, I enjoyed doing it, and it helped me out a lot in baseball because, it helped me through those ebbs and flows of the game. But then, once I got to this point of retirement, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to use anything with psychology, right? I don't want to be a psychologist. I don't, I would have to do something else, to be able to get into the job world. And so I was looking around at different sports management, degrees and opportunities of what those looked like. And LSU honestly just provided probably one of the better. They're an accredited program. Actually get to finish it in a year. So, it's a fast track. It's a lot of information, but it has been extremely useful in sort of guiding me to what I want to do next.
Is there any certain job that's out there that you think sports management would help you with that you're looking for?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think within the past, I guess I've been doing this program for, 5 months now. And, I'm starting to lean back into the baseball world a little bit. Sports agency seems really, really interesting to me. And even, possibly getting with a team now, like front office. But that's two completely different sides, right? Those two sort of go head-to-head at times because the agents are looking out for the players. The front office is looking out for the team. Players as well. They're wanting the players to do well, but they're trying to field a team that's going to win games. But, I mean, if any of you pay attention to baseball, you see the back and forth that teams and players, go against each other anytime a new CBA comes up. So that's always an interesting part. But it has, the program has really sort of helped clear my conscience and my vision of I do want to be in the business side a little more than maybe being a coach. I do enjoy sort of the hustle and bustle of numbers, chasing whatever the next big thing is. I love a challenge. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm not solid on anything, but sort of leaning toward those two things.
Zach, Thanksgiving is coming up in a couple of weeks. We have a Thanksgiving segment. So first, rank these 4 sides: sweet potato casserole, cornbread dressing, mashed potatoes, and yams.
All right. Yams are going to be 4th. Mashed potatoes are going to be 2nd.
Okay.
Cornbread dressing will be 3rd, and sweet potato casserole will be 1st.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I had.
I was about to go in the same order that you gave it and just say, actually, as you just listed it, but I had to switch up mashed potatoes and the cornbread dressing.
That's exactly what I would have gone with.
Hey.
Yeah.
Look at us.
There you go. What are you most thankful for about your time playing pro baseball? Sticking with the Thanksgiving theme, of course.
Man, that's hard. There's a lot of things. I think the connections to start. I'm extremely thankful for the people it's brought me close to. And even, with some of the ones that I don't get to keep in contact with much, I know that we have built a relationship to where, either one of us could reach out and we could, reconnect, and it'd be like, we just saw each other yesterday. And, just the experiences in general, I think, have set me up extremely well. for any challenges in the future, right? It's sort of, all the different scenarios that playing professional baseball brings you, or really any professional sport, but I think professional baseball is unique because of the travel, the different places in minor leagues, right? The what you go through with that, which most minor leaguers are going to not understand that as they get in there now, as opposed to a couple years ago. But yeah, man, I think it's just prepared me a lot of ways, and what's going to be next for me. So there's so much to be thankful for from those experiences. It was a blessed time.
Anyone in particular you want to give thanks to for where you are today?
Oh yeah, I mean, God, my family. I would not be where I am without them. Hard times, good times, far. I mean, my parents traveled to every Charlotte baseball game that I had in college, on the road, at home, didn't matter. They would make their way up to wherever I was, in the season, whenever I was with Baltimore, didn't matter, how far the travel was. They supported every dream and aspiration that I had. Even my sisters, I mean, they're my biggest fans, and, always, as much as it was a goal for myself, it was a goal for me to thank them by, putting it out on the field each time, right, for all the support they did. My mom drove me hours and hours all over the place so I could try and find a place to, play college baseball. We were driving to Atlanta, flying to Florida, whatever it was, they provided me every opportunity to be the best. So, I just wanted to sort of give my 110% each and every time I had the opportunity to sort of show them thanks.
You have a big birthday coming up, Zach. December 8th, in a few weeks, you turn 30. Any big plans for the big 3-0?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have some friends. I mean, most of my friends are from around here and stayed around here. We're going to have a little celebration that weekend. I have like finals that week of my birthday, so that's kind of tough. But no, we're gonna stay around here, local, for that week. Have a lot of friends that are going to come in, celebrate 30. And then we're actually going to go out to Arizona, where my dad lives, the next week. I'm going to play some golf, because golf around here during that time of year isn't great. But also to go see my dad. And then my middle sister, Carson, lives in L.A., so sort of give her a middle ground so she doesn't have to travel back and forth too much during the holiday season. But it's going to be fun. It's hard to believe 30's already here, but don't feel 30, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, you're still in college, right? LSU?
Yeah, exactly right.
Zach, what's the goal for you, the main goal for you in your post-playing career?
Main goal. I think the main goal for me is to find a way that I can continue to impact the people around me. I want to continue to build connections, right? And I think that's sort of a sense why I'm sort of leaning toward being, in baseball still, because I want to impact others around me and I want to work in a team. Everybody, I want to be successful. I want to have all that stuff, like material, yeah, like that's going to be great. But, each day I want to wake up and to continue to have an impact on people, right, in some way, shape, or form. And I think I'm on the right path, way of doing that. And I just want to enjoy each day as it comes to me.
Well, Zach, you're certainly making an impact at Queen City. You're making an impact at Gastonia College, and also on the Ball Was Life podcast. Make sure to check it out. Zach, Thanks so much for hopping on the podcast. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. This was a blast. Really enjoyed it.